SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, unaware or unveiled, lawyer Hejaz Hezbollah saved the Pearl Madrasa revealed as a hive of extremist activity in court today. Beneath the surface, police uncover large explosive stocks in Vaunia, including recently hidden active suicide vests. The beckoning reckoning. The Chief Justice names justices to preside over 2 trials at bar to hear bond scam cases. Zero tolerance. Public Security Minister announces special ultra-confidential hotline for female victims of blackmail. All this and much more coming up on this Thursday, the 18th of February 2021.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරන විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න. හඳුන්වා දීමේ මිල රුපියල් 350යි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando. Moving on to your top story for tonight. At a meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa called on tourism industry stakeholders to prepare to embark on a new journey amidst current challenges. The President also revealed that the government has decided to lift the quarantine requirement for tourism service providers if tourists test negative.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa met with representatives of the tourism sector at the Presidential Secretariat, where he assured that every possible measure has been taken to provide all required facilities, notwithstanding the health-related restrictions imposed to ensure the safety of the public. At the meeting, the head of state called on entrepreneurs in the sector to prepare to embark on a new journey while overcoming the challenges. The representatives were told that the government plans to give special priority to essential personnel in the tourism sector, such as hotel employees, tour guides and drivers under the current national vaccination program. The President also added that there is no requirement to quarantine service providers if tourists have tested negative. Further, the industry representatives were informed that a decision has been taken to isolate infected tourists at a special hospital in Kogala, which is managed by Lanka Hospitals Limited in partnership with the Sri Lanka Army. During the discussion, it was revealed that according to current data, the percentage of COVID-19 infected tourists arriving in the country during the outbreak remains less than 1%.
Pay just 500,000 rupees to reserve your unit today. Mulberry Residence.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has announced the lifting of travel restrictions previously introduced by the government on travellers entering Sri Lanka originating from the United Kingdom with immediate effect. The restriction was imposed in the face of the detection of a new and more infectious variant of COVID-19 in the UK. At a meeting presided over by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, it was decided to relax the restrictions on travel from the UK, subject to 14 days of quarantine and PCR tests as determined by the health authorities. Tourist arrivals from the UK too will resume under the guidelines introduced by the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau. Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath revealed that the needy will be prioritized as per WHO guidelines, and once a significant percentage of the world's population has been inoculated, it will be made available for sale in the market. In the meantime, the national vaccination program worked off for another day in the Western Province, targeting high priority groups.
During the course of yesterday, 11,680 people were inoculated against COVID-19, bringing the total since the 29th of January to 207,843. Furthermore, vaccinations of identified priority groups too were worked off during the day. With that, a total of 425 officers and staff of the Attorney General's Department were administered with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. The Attorney General's Coordinating Officer, State Counsel Nishara Jayaratnam, stated that the vaccinations were carried at the request of Attorney General Dapula Dilivera. With that, employees of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, including Chairman Retired General Derana, were also vaccinated against COVID-19. Further inoculations of parliamentarians continued for the third day at the Army Hospital in Narayanpeta. Meanwhile, Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath offered his personal opinion on why vaccines are still not available outside state medical services.
People are asking why not this vaccine make available in the private sector. What is really happening, to my knowledge, is that the WHO and all other international organizations are taking steps to make sure that these vaccines are distributed in an equitable manner throughout the world for all the needy population. And most of the governments in which the countries in which these products are being produced are also supporting that, and the producing companies are also given their consent to ensure that initially all the needy people need to get these vaccines, and then they will add to the market to be distributed at market values. So until such time, probably this vaccine might not be available in Sri Lanka as well in the private sector. But once reasonable population is vaccinated, this will change and probably it will be available.
US Ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Alena B. Teplitz, has expressed disappointment for what she alleged was the Sri Lankan government's backing away from ending the discriminatory cremation policy of COVID-19 victims. The statement from the US envoy was prompted by a statement by Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemantha Herath, who stated that procedures need to be followed before any revision of the decision can be made.
Foreign leaders and envoys of several countries commended an announcement made by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on the 10th of this month, where he gave an assurance that permission for burials of COVID-19 deceased would be granted soon. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan, who is scheduled to visit the country this month, was quick to welcome the announcement at the time, followed by the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Alena B. Teplitz, and British High Commissioner Sarah Hulton. However, Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath announced to media yesterday that cremations of COVID-19 deceased will continue as it has been gazetted into law, and that proper procedures will need to be followed in order to amend the previous directive. With that, US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Alena B. Teplitz took to social media once again to criticize the statement. In a tweet, the US envoy expressed disappointment for the Sri Lankan government's, quote, backing away from ending the discriminatory cremation policy of COVID-19 victims, end quote. Teplitz added that the people, including loved ones of the recently passed, deserve more respect for their rights from a democratic government. Earlier last month, the US envoy at a roundtable discussion also commented on the issue, stating that people of all faiths should have the opportunity to see their loved ones off in a way that represents their faith, traditions and culture. She also stressed the need for mutual respect for all traditions of all communities in protecting public health. UN Resident Coordinator in Sri Lanka, Hannah Singha, had previously written to Premier Rajapaksa, reiterating the concerns of the United Nations with the existing health ministry guidelines that stipulate cremation as the only method for the disposal of bodies suspected of COVID-19 infection.
The Government Medical Officers Association has called for a better system to ensure COVID-19 positive patients are transported to treatment centres and not isolated at their homes for days on end waiting for an ambulance. The association's editor says that the current practice poses a significant risk of infecting family members due to it being rife with transportation delays. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka reported 13 fatalities yesterday. However, Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath clarified today that all 13 deaths did not occur in a single day.
Out of a total of 722 COVID-19 infections detected yesterday, 713 of them were local cases identified across 20 districts. The remaining 9 infections are being reported as foreign arrivals. District-wise, Colombo contributed the highest cases with 223, while 160 were reported from Gampaha. In other districts, 75 infections were detected from Ratnapura, 49 from Kandy, 38 from Badulla, 29 from Kurunegala and 25 from Kalutara. The remaining 114 infections came from 13 other districts. In addition, the Chief of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19, Army Commander General Shavindra Silva, confirmed that 258 infections were detected today. Meanwhile, editor of the Government Medical Officers Association, Dr. Harita Aludge, urges immediate action against delays in transporting COVID-19 positive patients placed in quarantine at their residencies.
වශයෙන් කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය තුළ දවස් 3-4 සමහර තැන්වල දවස් 5-6 රෝගීන්ට ගෙවල් වල ඇතුළට වෙලා ඉන්න වෙලා තිනවා මේ රෝගී මධ්‍යස්ථානයකට යවනකම්. දැන් එක පැත්තකින් සෞඛ්‍යාංශ කියනවා අපිට ඕන තරම් ඉඩ තියෙනවා කියලා. අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි මෙච්චර මේ ඉඩ තියෙනවා නම් මේ අතරමැදි මධ්‍යස්ථානවල මේ ගෙවල් වල අය මිනිස්සු දවස් 5ක් ඉන්නේ. දැන් මේ ගෙවල් වල ඉන්නකොට ස්වභාවිකවම වෙන දේ තමයි මේ රෝගය පිළිබඳ තියෙන ඒ යම් හැඟීමක් අවදානමක් තිබුණා නම් ඒක දවසින් දවස ඒක අඩු වෙගෙන යනවා. රෝග ලක්ෂණ නැති වෙනකොට එයා හිතනවා ඇත්තටම මට මේ ලෙඩේ තියෙනවද? ඇත්තටම මගේ PCR වාර්තාව හරිද? මොකද මට කිසි ඇඟට අමාරුවක් නැහැ. අනිත් අයත් එක්ක සාමාන්‍ය විදිහට 4 වෙනි 5 වෙනි දවස් විදිහට හැසිරෙන්න ගන්නවා. මෙහාර මොකද්ද සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ? අර එක්කෙනෙක්ව අපි රෝහල් ගත කරනකොට තව 4-5 දෙනෙක්ව ගේ ඇතුළේ බෝ කරලා ඉවරයි. ඒ නිසා අපි නිශ්චිත වැඩපිළිවෙලක් මේ මොහොතේ විශේෂයෙන් කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය තුළ වගේම අනිත් පළාත්වලත් ආරම්භ කළ යුතුයි. මේ PCR පොසිටිව් කියලා හඳුනා ගන්න අයව වහාම ඒ නිවසෙන් ඉවත් කළා අනිත් තැන්වල ඒ ප්‍රතිකාර මධ්‍යස්ථානයට යොමු කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපේ අවධානය යොමු වෙන්න ඕන.
In the meantime, despite 13 COVID-19 related deaths being confirmed yesterday, which has been reported as the highest daily death toll, Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath announced at a media briefing today that all 13 deaths did not occur in a single day.
Not all these 13 cases happened over the past 24 hours, but due to different reasons, some of the deaths occurred even before that had been finally decided as COVID deaths within the past 24 hours. That is why these numbers have added to this total number.
Meanwhile, total COVID-19 recoveries increased to 71,823 after 647 patients recovered and were discharged today. This brings the total number of active cases to 5,919.
Lawyer Hejaz Hezbollah was produced before the Fourth Magistrates Court today on charges of having close links to the Easter Sunday attackers and for running an extremist madrasa in Puttlam. Presenting submissions, Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris today revealed that investigations had uncovered disturbing evidence of extremist lectures, weapons training and bomb-making classes conducted by Hezbollah, Zahran Hashim and his brother Rilwan Hashim, targeting a select set of 26 students who were instructed to kill Christians to save the Muslim faith. Attorney at law Hejaz Hezbollah was taken into CID custody on the 14th of April last year on charges of having close ties with the terrorists who perpetrated the Easter Sunday attack, as well as for conducting extremist lectures at a madrasa in Puttlam. The detention order against him was extended by the court on several occasions under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, and the CID went on to conduct a lengthy investigation into his activities for almost 10 months. After going through the CID's findings, the Attorney General yesterday informed the IGP in writing to name Hezbollah as a suspect and produce him before courts in line with the provisions of the Criminal Procedure Code. The Attorney General further instructed the IGP to file charges against Hezbollah under Section 21H of the Prevention of Terrorism Act and Section 31 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights Act. In addition, on the instructions of the Attorney General, the CID arrested the principal of the madrasa in question in Mundalama Puttlam last night, at which Hejaz Hezbollah is alleged to have conducted extremist teachings. The madrasa principal has been identified as Mohammad Shakil. The duo were produced before the Fourth Magistrates Court this afternoon, and the case was heard by Magistrate Priyantha Liyanage. Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris told the court that the suspect Hejaz Hezbollah was involved in extremist teaching at the Al-Suhariya Madrasa in Puttlam. He added that the organization Save the Pearl, of which Hezbollah was the chairman, had provided full sponsorship to the madrasa and had taught 56 children there. It was also revealed that 26 of these children were put in a separate classroom and had been given special residential training from 2019 until the date of the Easter attacks. The Deputy Solicitor General also disclosed that one of the students had provided evidence to the CID that the suspect had showed them a video clip of a war between Israel and Palestine, teaching them that Christians have taken over control of the mosques in Israel and therefore their only way to fight back was to attack Christians in Sri Lanka. Deputy Solicitor General Piris told the court that the perpetrators of the Easter Sunday attack and their families were involved in training these 26 children at the madrasa. He went on to say that Naufar Maulavi, who is known to be the theoretician of the Easter attack terror group, and the attack ringleader Zahran Hashim had conducted lectures at the madrasa in 2018 and in 2019. He added that during CID investigations, a child who participated in the lectures had divulged that Zahran Hashim had questioned whether they have the courage to fight to save their faith. The court was also told that Zahran Hashim's brother Rilwan Hashim too had visited the madrasa on several occasions and had given the students training on how to defuse a bomb and dismantle a firearm, and had also told them that Christians should be killed. The Deputy Solicitor General further revealed that Mohammad Azam Mohammad Mubarak, the Kingsbury Hotel bomber, had conducted military training at the madrasa in February 2019. Presenting all these submissions, the Deputy Solicitor General questioned the veracity of claims that Hezbollah was unaware of these activities, despite being the head of the organization that sponsored the madrasa. Furthermore, the Deputy Solicitor General, who stated that Hezbollah would be produced before the court under the Prevention of Terrorism Act and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, pointed out that the magistrate has no jurisdiction to grant him bail if applied for. In response, Hezbollah's attorney stated that the magistrate has no jurisdiction to remand the suspect as he is already detained under the PTA. He added that Hezbollah's detention order must therefore be terminated if he is to be remanded. Meanwhile, the appeals court heard the writ petition filed by Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, seeking an order for authorities to conduct a formal investigation into the alleged importation of 6,000 swords during the Easter Sunday attacks. IGP CD Vikramaratne, Defence Secretary Kamal Gunaratne, Chief of the National Intelligence Service Major General Ruwan Kulatunga, Chief of the State Intelligence Service Suresh Saleh, the Director of the Criminal Investigation Department, as well as the Director General of Customs have been named as respondents. Appearing on behalf of the Cardinal, President's Counsel Sanjeeva Jayawardena stated before court that investigations into the aftermath of the Easter attack had revealed that around 6,000 swords had been imported into the country just before the attack. The President's Counsel further stated that only 600 swords have now been found, which were imported by an individual named Mohammad Sattar at the behest of the cinnamon grand bomber Mohammad Ibrahim Insaf Ahmad. He went on to say that out of these 6,000 swords believed to have been imported, information regarding 5,400 swords is unknown, and added that the circulation of such a large amount of swords in the country poses a threat to national security. Considering the facts, the two-member bench of the appeals court issued notice to the respondents to make submissions on the progress of the investigations when the court sits next. The petition is due to be summoned next on the 5th of March. Police personnel uncovered 148 landmines and 21 kilograms of TNT hidden inside a house located in Nathunkeni, Vaunia yesterday. Later on the day, 2 active LTT suicide vests were unearthed buried in a forest also in Vaunia. In the meantime, convening a media briefing today, Minister of Public Security Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Veerasekara stated that the law will be enforced against those involved in the incidents, irrespective of what positions they hold. Upon receiving information from the intelligence services regarding an individual engaged in collecting and selling explosives, police raided a house in Nathunkeni, Vaunia yesterday. During the raid, police personnel recovered 148 landmines, 21 kilograms of TNT and 1.6 kilograms of plastic explosives. Police arrested an individual present at the location at the time of the raid. The 32-year-old suspect had reportedly been involved in demining activities carried out by a non-governmental organization. According to police, 22 out of the 148 landmines were active when recovered. Later, the suspect was handed over to the Terrorism Investigation Division for further investigations. Investigations conducted so far have not revealed any links between him and the LTTE organization. Also in Vaunia, police discovered 2 suicide vests buried in a forest in the area of Sinnathampane in the Settikulam police division. The two vests weighed 5 kilograms each and were found buried at a depth of 2 feet. According to security forces, the two suicide vests were still active at the time of retrieval and were reportedly buried not so long ago. Following a court order, the suicide vests were defused by the STF bomb disposal squad last afternoon. Meanwhile, the Minister of Public Security convened a media briefing this morning and expressed his views on the two separate discoveries.
බෝම්බ ඉවත් කරපු හැටි ඒ බෝම්බ යුද හමුදාවට බාර දිය යුතු යුද හමුදාවේ අධ්‍යක්ෂණය යටතේ කරන්නේ බොහෝ දුරට මොවුන් කරන්නේ මේවා ගත්ත හැටිය හොරෙන් මේවා අරන් ගිහිල්ලා මසුන් මැරීම සඳහා දීවරයන්ට විකුණන එක තමයි කරන්නේ. පාවිච්චි කරපු නැත්නම් පාවිච්චි කරන්න තත් කරපු එක්ස්ප්ලෝසිව් තමයි දැන් මේ අපි ටිකෙන් ටික ගොඩ ගන්න. නැවතත් LTG එක්ස්ප්ලෝසිව් තියනවද? ඒක හිසෝසනවා නම් ඒකට සහභාගී වෙනවා නම් මොනතරම් මේ පුද්ගලයෙක් වුණත් අපි අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන ඒ නීතිමය ජාලයෙන් කටයුතු කරනවා. මේ පිටුපස විශාල ජාලයක් තියෙනවා කියනවා. ඒක ඇත්තද? ඔව් ඉතින් ජාලයක් තියෙනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම. මොකද ත්‍රස්තවාදීන්ගේ සහ අන්තවාදීන්ගේ ඒ ජාලය ලෝක පුරා විහිදිලා තියෙන ජාලයක්. ඒක නිසා තමයි අපි පරිස්සමෙන් ඉන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මම දැන්ට හොයාගෙන තියෙනවද මේක මෙහෙවන්නේ පිටරටවල ඉඳන්ද ලංකාවේ? නෑ මෙහෙමයි ලංකාවෙත් ඉන්නවා පිටරටත් ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් අපිට දැන් බුද්ධි තොරතුරු ගලාගෙන එනවා. කවුද අන්තවාදීන් කවුද ත්‍රස්තවාදීන් වලට උදව් කරන්නේ කවුද අයට මුදල් එවන්නේ මෙන්න මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපිට දැන්ටම තොරතුරු ලැබී සිටිනවා. ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අනිවාර්යෙන් අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. අත්අඩංගුවට ගත්ත බෝම්බ සහ මරාගෙන මැර ඇඳුම් කට්ටේ සම්බන්ධ. ඒ ඝාතන ඉලක්කයක් තිබිලා තියෙනවද? නෑ ඒක තාම දන්නේ නෑ.
Minister of Public Security Dr. Sarath Veerasekara urged women of all ages not to be afraid or hesitant in reporting acts of blackmail through the new 118 hotline, as strict confidentiality will be guaranteed and harsh action will be taken against any suspects engaging in such acts. He added that the general public can also reach out through the same hotline to report violence against women, incidents of child abuse, extortion, underworld activities and incidents of drug peddling.
ඒකයි අට යොදන්නේ ප්‍රධාන අපරාධ විශේෂයෙන්ම කාන්තා හිංසනය ළමා අපචාර කප්පන් ගැනීම පාතාල ක්‍රියාකාරණ සහ මත්කුඩු මෙන්න මේ ටික තමයි අපි එකයි අට යොදවන්නේ උදාහරණයක් හැටියට ගෑනු ළමයෙක් සමග යාළු වෙනවා ඊට පස්සේ ඒ ගෑනු ළමයාව කොහට හරි එක්ක යනවා ඊට පස්සේ එයාගේ ඡායාරූප අරගන්නවා ඊට පස්සේ එයා ජීවත් වෙලා ඉන්නකම් එයාගෙන් අර ත්‍රාසාත් ග්‍රහණය කරමින් ඒ කියන්නේ බ්ලැක්මේල් කරලා ඒ දරුවා ඒ ගෑනු ළමයා විවාහ වුණාට පස්සෙත් එයාගෙන් ඒ මුදල් ලබා ගන්න එකින්ද පෙරේදා අපි ඒ වගේ ළමයෙක්ම බ්ලැක්මේල් කරමින් මාස ගාණක් තිස්සේ මුදල් ගරමින් හිටපු කෙනෙක්ව අපි අත්අඩංගුවට ගත්තා. ඔහුට ගැළවීමක් නැහැ දැන්. ඒ වගේම තමයි මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ මේ සියලුම මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයකට මුහුණ දීලා තියෙන සියලුම ගැහැණු දරුවන්ට සියලුම කාන්තාවන්ට විවාහ කාන්තාවන්ට මම ඊටාම ඕනෑකම ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. කරුණා කරලා 118ට කතා කරන්න. තමාව බ්ලැක්මේල් කරනවා නම් අපි ඔවුන්ගේ අනන්‍යතාවයේ හෙළිදරව් කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකින්ද ඒ වගේ කරන අය ඉන්නවා නම් වහාම අදින්දන් නවත්තන්න. දිගටම කරන්න යනවා නම් කරුණා කරලා අපිට කියන්න අපි ඔවුන්ට ඒ සාධාරණ ඉෂ්ට කරනවා. මේ රටේ ඒ දේවල් දෙන්න අපි මහජන ආරක්ෂක මාත්‍ය හැටියට අපි කවදාකවත් ඉඩ තියන්නේ නැහැ.
Two trials at bar were appointed by Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya for the hearing of 2016 bond scam cases following a request made by the Attorney General. Former Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake, former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, the head of Perpetual Treasuries Arjun Aloysius and 7 others have been named as respondents in the cases pertaining to 2 bond issues in March 2016.
Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya has appointed 2 trials at bar for the hearing of the bond scam cases involving the True Treasury bond auctions held in March 2016. The Attorney General requested for a trial at bar for the case on the 11th of February 2021 to try former Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake and former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, Perpetual Treasuries head Arjun Aloysius and 7 others. Subsequently, on the 15th of February, the Attorney General requested for another trial at bar to hear the case. Accordingly, the Chief Justice has appointed 2 separate trials at bar to hear the case. The first trial at bar consists of High Court judges D. Thotavatta, Manjula Tilakaratna and M. Irasadeen. The second trial at bar consists of High Court judges Amal Ranaraja, Namal Balalle and Aditya Patabenege.
More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back in business news. The old share price index gained 148.2 points or 1.95% to end at 7,736.36 points, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks ended at 3,086.4 points, gaining 58.38 points. Meanwhile, the rupee was quoted weaker at around 196 rupees to 196 rupees and 40 cents to the US dollar today, after ending at around 195 to 198 rupees yesterday. In sports, Minister of Youth and Sports Nama Rajapaksa says that the focus of a professional athlete shouldn't just be remuneration but rather discipline, training and a professional lifestyle. The minister made these remarks during the Junior Athletes Development Program, which took place yesterday at the Foundation Institute. He added that the sports ministry is also committed to fulfill athletes' educational goals, but only if there is commitment and transparency shown.
All our athletes come from the school system, and you produce the best athletes. But unfortunately, when you leave school, there is no mechanism to hold them or to guide them to the next stage in their respective sports. That is a reality. So we have to work together with the school structure. So we are looking at a professional athlete. So when I say professional, it's not only the payment. Because in Sri Lanka, when you say වෘත්තිමය ක්‍රීඩකයෙක් පඩිය විතරයි බලන්නේ. බෑ වෘත්තිමය ක්‍රීඩකයෙක් වෙනවා නම් විනය තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ට්‍රේනින් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ලයිෆ්ස්ටයිල් එක ප්‍රොෆෙෂනල් වෙන්න ඕනේ. So පඩිය විතරක් ප්‍රොෆෙෂනල් වෙලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. If there is investment to create a professional athlete, the Ministry of Sports is willing to do that as long as there is transparency and commitment. When you train and perform, then we will take that talent to the next step, where we will contract with them the national squad, where they will be the next Olympian, the next medal hope for the Asian Games or Commonwealth and Olympics.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Have a good night.